welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today. We start off another week now. Remember, last week on Friday, amid the simmering tensions between India and Pakistan at the borders, the stock markets in India turned sharply volatile, even though the last hour recovery did pull it back from the lowest point of the day. We started off the May FNO series on a weak note amid these rising global tensions. We actually also saw the Nifty slipping below its 200 days of a moving average, again suggesting a potential entry into like a bearish trend. But despite that weakness, we've actually seen for the week the markets ended with a gain of nearly 1%, marking the second straight weekly advance already. Now, of course, the fag and recovery in the markets on Friday also came on the back of the heavy buying that was seen by the foreign institutional investors. Shares worth about 2009, 52 odd crore rupees was bought in by the FIIs. The DIs also purchased Indian equity worth about 3,539 crores. Of course, we will also be seeing how the developments take place throughout the course of this week between India and Pakistan amid all the key decisions that are being taken and the impact of that. Another key triggers to watch out for the May series include, of course, the ongoing earnings for the March quarter. We have some heavyweight earnings which will see a reaction today. Reliance Industries, Maruti Suzuki, all of them will be seeing a reaction in trade today, and many others that we will be sharing with you shortly. Of course, that will provide a direction to the markets. FOMC policy decision will be taken in on May 7th, so that will be the next big global trigger to watch out for, which could also spark a reaction from US President Donald Trump. Remember, he's been talking about how the rate cuts should be speeded up at this point in time. Overnight, on Friday night, we actually saw S&P 500 index at about 0.7% in trade, Nasdaq at about 1.2%, Dow Jones, ended about 0.05% higher. So slow, gradual recovery in the US markets continues as well. Asia markets this morning were also mixed. We saw Japan's Nikkei, Australia's ASX 200 indices up in trade, whereas South Korea's Kospi also added about 0.4% in trade. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index, however, fell by about 0.5% in the early morning trading session. And of course, we'll be watching out for how the Indian markets really open up. GIFT Nifty is indicating a mild positive start this morning as well. Now, when we talk about the IPO space, that's going to be starting some action for FY26. For the first time, we are seeing the first IPO of FY26 in the main board category coming today. Ather Energy IPO will be opening of 2,981 odd crore rupees. So between April 28th and April 30th, the bidding will be open, and of course, we will be sharing with you more details on the IPO as well. Like I said, whole host of earnings that are coming in. Reliance Industries consolidated QOQ numbers, revenue up 9% to over 2.6 lakh crores. What we have seen, EBITDA flat, margins coming in slightly lower at 16.8% versus 18.2%. Biggest contraction in the last 10 quarters that you've seen on the margin front. But net profit came in higher than large estimates of the streets, up 5% at 19,407 crores. Geo revenues, what we've seen is up by about 2%. Margins came in flat. Here, the net profit was up 3% for this one. ARPU improved to 206 versus 203, largely in line to slightly on a higher side for this one. Of course, we'll be watching out for how the reaction of Reliance Industries is, as there is going to be a focus on the IPO of Jio going forward, and of course new energy business as to how that is in focus as well. Tata Technologies also came out with the numbers. Q4 FY25 consolidated sequential numbers show that the revenue slipped by 2.4%. Net profit was up 12% to 188 crores. EBIT was down 1%, and the margins came in at 15.7%. RBL Bank and IDFC First Bank from the banking space will be in focus because of earnings. For RBL Bank, the net profit was down 80.5%, net interest income down by 2% odd. Gross NPA slightly improved, net NPA slightly improved as well. There is a rise in provisions and a slight fall in the net interest income that weighed on the profitability. IDFC First Bank, we've actually seen the net profit crash by about 58%. The net interest income came in higher by 10% this quarter. What we're also seeing is that the core operating income was up by about 8.7%. The net NPA came in just a tad higher. So we'll keep an eye out on IDFC First Bank. DCB Bank also from the banking space. Here the net profit improved by 14%, net interest income up by 10%, gross NPAs and net NPAs also improved this quarter sequentially. The board has recommended a dividend as well. Poonawalla FinCorp will be in focus again. Here the NII was up 8.5% for the quarter. Net profit was down, however, 81% at 62.3 odd crore rupees. And this PAT has been impacted in the year due to the one-time OPEX and accelerated provisioning as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Apart from that, Oracle Financial Services software will be in focus. Sequential consolidated numbers show flat revenue growth, EBITDA up by 7%. Margins improved about 289 basis points. Net profit was up by 19%. Aegis Networks also here the revenue improved by 43.7%. EBITDA was down 60%. Here what we've seen is that the margins came down sharply, 6.3% versus 23.3%. There's a net loss that also reacted. So 71.8 odd crore rupees of a net loss versus profitability of 147 crores coming in. Of course, apart from this, we'll also focus on some other names that are going to be in focus in terms of the news flow. M&M will be in focus. It's going to be acquiring SML Isuzu for 555 crore rupees, initiating an open offer as well. Zydus Life Sciences, 6 observations from US FDA coming in, more related to data integrity. Biocon here, the arm has received opinions recommending approval for denosumab biosimilars as well. So we'll focus on that one. Eicher Motors will be in focus. It's launched 2025 Hunter 350. So that will be in focus as well. For the company. Railtel Corporation has received a 90 odd crore rupee order from Institute of Road Transport that will be in focus. We'll also focus on some other names like Avenue Supermarts. It's opened, new store in Karnataka that will be in focus. Vodafone Idea here. Goldman Sachs has bought for 59.8 odd crore shares, that is 0.5% of the equity at 7.65 rupees per share. Nokia Solutions has sold off their share. So we'll keep an eye out on all of that in focus in page today. Apart from this, Maruti Suzuki will be in focus. Remember, the company has reported a miss on margins front as expenses have increased. EBITDA declined by 9% from the year ago period. Margins stood at 10.5%, again a decline. Both EBITDA and margins were below street estimates, and the stock also did fall on Friday, and we'll continue to discuss why, because the headlines came in after the market hours with interaction with the media on from RC Bhargav, pointing to how unaffordable the small cars have become for the middle class as well, and how he also believes that FY26 could be slower in terms of growth when it comes to FY25 comparison. So that's something else that one needs to definitely keep an eye out on. Let me just give you a broad overview of how the brokerage houses are looking at some of these names that we've already discussed that are in news flow today. So Goldman Sachs on Tata Technologies has given a sell with a target price of 550. They believe Q4 is in line. Profitability beat estimates driven by higher other income. Management has also indicated positive conversations with clients in fourth quarter around potential pickup in auto ER&D starting in the first quarter of FY26. So that's something that they marked. For Srinam Finance, Kotak Institutional Equities came out with the earning report. Remember, the stock had fallen on Friday sharply, and that will be in focus again. They have a buy report, rating and a target price of 750. Now reported a marginal rise in delinquencies across the segments, raising markets anxieties. They have also talked about trends are definitely going to be monitorable but not alarming. The growth remains calibrated. Liability side tailwinds will actually provide some buffer to the earnings, is what they've mentioned. On RBL Bank, BOFA has an underperform rating with a target price of 175. Softer quarter led elevated credit cost partially offsets the stable NIMS cost control that we've been seeing. So that will be in focus. BofA Securities also has a report on Maruti Suzuki. They have a buy rating and a target price of 14,000. They do believe margins were a miss for sure, but what we have seen is that there is going to be a new plant drag to persist in Q1 as well. But beyond that, there are two positives that they believe. One, new SUV launch confirmed for FY26, and two, solid export guidance of 20% plus kind of a growth that they are expecting on that front as well. So the numbers that we will be looking at. We now have our guest with us. Mr. Vineet Pulinshkar is joining in from Ventura Securities. Warm welcome. Good morning to you, Vineet, and thank you so much for joining in. Lots to talk to you about, from earnings to macros as well. But you tell us, how have you assessed, what's gone on in the last 1 week? Geopolitical tensions coming to fore, and that's shrouding, again, the kind of recovery rally that we were looking at on the back of softening stance on the tariff from US.
So I think this geopolitical situation has been a kind of a spanner in the works. So while we were trying to come back, regain from those tariff losses that we had faced, he suddenly put the recovery in kind of a jeopardy kind of situation. But I feel that if you purely assess the strength of the two countries, I think surely the economic clout that India has over the what the the foe is currently in. I think that this would be a not a very long drawn out affair. It would be a quick kind of uh, quick kinetic action that would take place. And given that, I think the markets will not really fall very aggressively. At best, I could think of is 3 to 500 points at the moment.
Okay. Let's look at how the pre-open trend has shaped up. So 24,053, we are mildly higher in trade, but let's look at some of the heavyweight names that we are going to be tracking with Vineet also. Let's look at Reliance Industries, the big giant that came out with the earnings on Friday evening after market hours. That will be the first number that we will be seeing, how that reacts. Of course, Vineet, we will also be discussing with you how the earnings panned out for you. 2.4% higher, 1332, 1334 now for Reliance Industries. So thumbs up coming in on the pre-open trade for Reliance Industries. Vineet, how would you really look at kind of earnings that came in overall, and then we can dive into each of the segments as well. What stood out for you from the earnings?
I think before we get into the earnings, I would like to say that Reliance is a stock which is focused, which has bulk of its infrastructure on the border, that is near Jamnagar. So it is, along with some of the Adani stocks and all those who are situated in Gujarat and have more exposure on the border, they are a kind of a company that I would be avoiding investing in at this point in time.
Okay. Okay, so now help us understand on the earnings front. First let's talk about Jio, since that's the biggest talking point. How are you looking at the potential listing of Jio separately and IPO coming in there? Do you pencil that happening in this year? And of course, ARPUs have improved, subscriber base has improved as well. What's your overall stance on Jio?
No, I think Jio is a positive story, and however, we would want to have concrete guidance when the issue would be get listed. So I think for Reliance as a whole, the story of when the IPO will happen, uh, along with the Reliance Retail, are two critical issues that will be guiding the way the stock would perform in the coming future.
Okay, and how about the new energy businesses probably going to be eyed now? How are you looking at that space? Are you already looking at ascribing some valuation to that business?
As I told you, because the new energy business are very area intensive and they are based in the, on the border areas, until this situation is not out of our immediate, you know, perspective, I will not assign any value to that.
Okay, and how about retail? That has been pretty capital intensive as thus far. What next for this one?
I think it will take a while because they're struggling to get their act together on that piece of the cake. Quick commerce will eat into a lot of their growth initially. So I think that we need to assess this situation for a couple of more quarters before really expecting what will happen.
Okay, so right now you'll be avoiding investing in Reliance Industries at the current levels, but we have seen a recovery happen from around what those 1100 lagging levels to now over 1300 kind of levels. Incrementally, do you believe this stock could again be in a consolidative, largely, range bound move rather than giving, sharp moves ahead? This has been testing patience now for last 1 year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the beta stocks, not having its own mojo to drive the market upwards.
Okay, so that's as far as Reliance Industries is concerned, viewers. We'll keep an eye out on that. Apart from this, let's also talk about one more stock which has been a big laggard in terms of stock price performance, and that's Tata Technologies. The latest one to hit the D Street from Tata Group, but it has actually, not really performed that much. The earnings have come in. Again, the revenue is down. Profit up by about 12 odd percent. EBIT is down by 1% odd. Margins have also just come in flat with a positive bias. What's your sense on Tata Technologies?
I think its expectation was hyped up a bit too much. Even before the IPO, we had done our back of the envelope calculations. At that time, a level of around 700 by FY27 is what looked to be a more realistic target. Not forget, area to buy the stock. Having said that, we have on a retrospective basis turned to be proven right, and we believe that if you really want to look to buy this stock, you must wait for more positive growth coming in. And secondly, I think an area to buy this stock would be somewhere around 600 and 625, within that range.
Okay, got that. We'll also focus on some other names as well in the markets. We'll look at, say, the banking names now. Vineet, how are you looking at the entire banking story? We've actually come out with some results like RBL Bank, IDFC First Bank, DCB Bank, Poonawalla FinCorp. That's come out with the earnings. So far, how have you assessed the large cap banks, the way they have come out with the earnings, with these second rank, third rank kind of banks that we have in the private sector?
So I think IDFC has been a disappointment, which is again our expectation. And despite the fundraise that they did recently of 7,500 crores, we believe that the bank will, even if they assess it at the 20% growth which they've been talking about, I think they'll be struggling to get the ROEs in place. And with the microfinance lending, NPAs, not really watering down. I think this stock, we have put a sell note on this stock with a target of 47. After the fundraise, I think this level could possibly come to 50, 52. So I think there's still a good 20% downside remaining, and this stock will sell off within that time frame.
Absolutely. Let's also welcome, in fact, we have, I think, Vaishali also joining in a bit, but we'll also get into view with as far as the banking space is concerned with her. Another space is Maruti Suzuki, of course, from the auto space that I wanted to discuss with you. Auto has been something that we've discussed, at length with you on all aspects. Post the earnings, what made the headlines was RC Bhargav's statement saying that, the smaller cars are getting more and more unaffordable for the Indian middle class. And the second one that he highlighted was that he expects FY26 to be, on a slower growth path when we compare it with FY25. How have you assessed the earnings? What are the opportunities ahead? They've talked about launching one SUV in FY26. How much of that will be able to provide that cushion?
So we have known all along that the small cars have been as a contributing factor to the Maruti bottom line has been diminishing, and the focus is purely on the middle and the sedan segment. And Maruti has been doing well to get into that. We think that the stock is very reasonably valued, and although for although a year and a couple of years back we expected it to outperform the market, it has not really done that. So, we had a target of 1400,000 on this stock, and it is barely kind of done much against that. So, I think a Mahindra would be a better buy in the PV space at the current levels than Maruti.
Okay. I think we do have Vaishali with us. So let's welcome her on board as well. Vaishali Paring, Vice President of Technical Research and Analysis at Prabhudas Leeladhar, joining in. Hi, Vaishali. Warm welcome. Good morning to you. Starting off another week, and I wanted to just get in sense. We began FNO series for the May, on a slightly on the back foot because of the fresh concerns on geopolitical tensions. What's your overall expectation for this series? How are you going to play this?
Very good morning, all of you. So yes, we saw a lot of choppiness on Friday, of course, with the geopolitical issues going in. But I would purely, for the technical eye, I would say 23,800 needs to be looked at. If those levels are broken decisively, then there is a continuation of a downtrend to take place. But otherwise, I think for days to come, I would look at a range of 23,800 as support and 24,500 as the resistance. Today, we are seeing a mildly positive start. So I think if we hold on to these levels, we can see a further bounce coming in towards 24,500.
Okay, let's talk to you. Also, we were discussing some of the big numbers that we will watch out for with Vineet and what is he looking at on those names. So let's start off with Reliance Industries with you because that's the biggest number that everybody is going to watch out for. Pre-open indicates a higher start for this one. Remember, this has been a laggard story for the last 1 year or so, but there has been some slow and gradual recovery over the last 1 month. What do you expect now post the earnings?
So right now it of course shows a positive gap up opening. So and it this also is a 200-day period resistance level. So if the stock continues to sustain about 1340, 1350, I think it's ready for a further price trajectory of 1400 and higher. So 1300 would act as a support, and we would look at higher targets of 1400, 1450, and so on.
Okay.
Darwaza band karo.
Let's also get in Vineet here. Vineet, how about the overall earnings? We've discussed with you some specifics there, but the early bird earnings are out. Some of the large ones are also out. What's your overall sense on the overall earnings now?
Encouraging over the last period compared to what we were expecting. General street expectation was that earnings would kind of disappoint, but I think they've done much better than what was expected. Recovery has clearly put in, and had it not been for this uh, this kinetic action that is prevalent, I think we would have been flying away somewhere else only. So very positive on the earnings, and just want to be a tad uh, perspective is going to be a little bit cautious, because if this war gets anywhere preponed beyond a few days, then it starts hitting your economy, and it could set you back a couple of years. So, and it depends on the intensity of the war. And as I mentioned that we don't expect it to be a much intense of a war. Uh, you know, uh, Overall we would be looking to buy the market on dips.
Okay, got that. That's the view on the markets and the overall earnings. Let's look at how the markets are opening. It's 9:15, and we already have some initial ticks going for the markets now. A higher start is what was getting penciled in from the GIFT Nifty, and that's how exactly you've looked at. Let's pull up the Nifty and the Nifty Bank for all our viewers to really see how the opening is taking place. It's on a higher note at this point in time, and we are seeing a positive start. Let's look at Reliance Industries as well, and to see how the biggest number has actually taken shape today, to find out how the numbers are reflecting. A 0.3% uptick on Nifty 50 at 24,111. You can actually see an uptick on the Nifty, and this should be actually largely led by Reliance Industries. That's the biggest number that we are watching out for. It will come up on your screens. Let's pull up Reliance. And for all our viewers to see, 1.8% higher, 1322. That's the number that we are watching out for, and that's pulled up the market. So we have the Nifty up into the green at this point in time. about 0.1%. The Sensex up by about 0.2%. You also have the mid cap slightly higher, 0.5%, 0.1%, 0.2% higher. IT stocks are also moving up in trade. You have advances of 648 versus declines of 992. So that's where you need to really look at the, stocks are skewed towards the declining side at this point in time. And you can actually see a fall on this one as well. Let's look at some of the other spaces that we are looking at in terms of sectors. You have barring financials, largely most of the sectors are still holding up, although the gains are very, very limited. IT, auto is up. You have metals that are higher. You have FMCG that's up. Banks, of course, that's holding up on the back of PSU banks largely. That's up by 0.5%. And you also have oil and gas that's up in trade, real estate that's up in trade as well. Let's also look at the pharma, capital goods. All of these are higher. I think IT is now turning volatile. It's now slipping into the red. But rest of the sector still holding up. Nifty gainers, M&M, 1.75% higher on SML Isuzu acquisition at this point. Let's also look at Reliance Industries. That's also pulling up the market. Cipla, Sun Pharma from the pharma pack. Hindalco from the metals pack. These are all the top movers. Whereas on the declining side, you have some power and ONGC names that are declining. Power Grid, ONGC. You also have Asian Paints that's declining. Shriram Finance continues to be a big track there. Let's discuss that also with Vineet and Vaishali. Maruti Suzuki is declining. It's one among the top losers. HCL Technologies is giving up some of its last week's gains. 2% down. Ultratech Cement is down. We'll have to keep in mind the India Cement numbers that are coming in. Power Grid, Bajaj Finance. These are the stocks that are declining in trade as of now. But IGL, Eternal, M&M, these are among the top movers. Whereas SML Isuzu, which is getting into the acquisition, is actually showing us some declines. Okay, quickly, Vaishali, if you could look at the markets and tell us how do you find the opening? What strikes positive for you?
So right now we are seeing some strength in the index overall. So I would focus on stocks like banking stocks once again. So Kotak Bank is showing strength. Along with that, ICICI. I mean, of course, ICICI has maintained its uptrend. So ICICI is looking good to me right now. So banking index is showing a good bounce back.
Okay, let's look at some of the stocks then. Maruti Suzuki, that's on a declining trend right at open. Remember, this is coming in after the earnings have come in. Any suggestion here, Vaishali?
So I would say Maruti, of course, the automobile sector, there isn't much happening, but I would say Maruti, today's low is important. If 11,200 levels break, then that is calling in for further profit booking. But till then, I would wait. It may give a bounce up to 12,000 levels to start.
Okay, got that. So we are looking at tad bit of a decline on this one, 0.7% of a fall, 11,610. From the auto space itself, M&M is on the radar. So both M&M and SML Isuzu is something that we will pull up in trade for Vaishali to help us understand. There is this strategic move that's happening. M&M is going to be acquiring SML Isuzu. And of course, we have all the details. There will be an open offer as well that will show up. And of course, the acquisition will now take place. Earlier, I think there was a lot of buzz that Ashok Leyland and JBM Auto, they were in, line and to acquire this one. In fact, JBM Auto also rallied last week on that buzz. But we are actually looking at how the fresh move is taking place now with M&M. Vaishali, any suggestion on M&M versus SML Isuzu post this acquisition deal?
So first, let's talk about M&M. It is doing quite well right now. It is at a tough resistance level. We are seeing a cluster of moving averages at this level. So I would say if 2,800 levels, or say let's say 2,700, I would follow a range of 2,700 to 3,300. That's how I would look at M&M. So it still is a buy in decline. Whereas in SML, there's nothing much happening right now. Yet, I would say, well, for the trend to continue, it should hold on to 1,500 levels, and 1,900 would be the resistance. So that's how I would look at this stock.
Okay. Um, let's actually look at some of the other aspects. Okay, one stock that I want you to focus on is Shriram Finance. Top loser right now. Vineet is back with us. Let's start off with him. Vineet, how did you assess the earnings for Shriram Finance, and why, after 2 days of decline, we are again seeing a sharp fall of 7.5%? What do you think was the biggest drag there, and how much more downside post that pressure?
I'm not very unduly worried about Shriram Finance. I think it's a super franchise business, and you know, uh, it should find support, at very close to these current levels.
Okay. So, what about the fresh investors? How should they view this?
I think you can gradually look to buy the stock once this froth settles down. Is when one can
Okay.
look to buy into this.
Okay, got that. And again, I wanted to just step in on want you to step in on M&M and SML Isuzu. We are seeing an uptick on M&M, but a dip on SML Isuzu there. How would you approach both these stocks amidst the acquisition news now?
So I think that as we spoke earlier, again vis-a-vis Maruti, M&M is a much better franchise now, and I think with the SML Isuzu platform, I think on the longer term, M&M will be able to launch much, improve their product offering, utilizing their distribution and the models that they can and technologies that they can acquire from SML Isuzu. Having said that, I think SML Isuzu is right now bought very cheaply by M&M, and the valuations of SML Isuzu are, I think, a little on the higher side. So don't expect too much of a you know positive out there for SML Isuzu.
Okay, fair point. I hope this has helped all our viewers understand the way to approach it after the news flow that has come in as well. Let's also focus on some of the other aspects within the auto. Ether Energy's IPO is going to open up today. That's the first IPO for FY26. Any opportunities within the two-wheeler space that you're looking at? This is the fourth largest EV producer. It'll have direct competition with Ola Electric as a pure play EV space. How should one really view this opportunity, Vineet, at this point in time within the EV basket?
So great product, and post this IPO, they will be beefing up their distribution in the north. They already do about 15% market share. It was 12% 1 month ago. And with their product being positioned to grow in the north and west, I think, the company should do well. Having said that, I think on a 2 year perspective, the stock is kind of positioned for, some listing gains that you will get. Uh, and I think you should play this stock purely from the listing gains perspective.
Hmm. Okay, got that. Let's also look at some of the other aspects that we can bring in front of our viewers today. Okay, so by the way, we are actually looking at SML Isuzu at a 10% lower circuit right now, post that earnings news. So we can actually continue to focus on that as well. Keep an eye out on that too. Let's look at some of the other aspects. And I wanted to also bring in Vineet for you. Poonawalla FinCorp that we missed discussing when we were discussing financials. This has been one of the erstwhile favorites of retail investors as well. How did you assess the earnings here, and what do you think comes next?
Nothing fancy about their numbers. I think
Okay.
the stock will be in this corrective move until they can do something which would be kind of a trigger for the stock to go ahead.
Hmm.
So right now, if you want to play the NBFC space, I think microfinance stocks which are recovering from their steep fall in terms of NPAs are a better bet, and Bajaj Finance is my top pick among the microfinance stocks.
Okay, okay. Bajaj
Sorry,
Finance is a
I
top
mean the
pick.
consumer finance, NBFC space.
Okay, okay. We'll definitely keep that in mind as well. Getting back to Vaishali then, Vaishali, what else strikes to you beyond the large caps that we have discussed so far? what else really comes up on your screens at this point for a strong move?
Really nothing, Sakshi. Right now, it's still just finding its levels. I'm not seeing any
Yeah.
strength in the mid-cap stocks right now. It's only the front
Mhm.
line, whatever we are seeing, it's the banking stocks that is showing strength. I'm not finding any stock currently.
Okay, Vaishali, what about PSU banks? They started their move last week and they're continuing even today. What are you really looking forward in this space?
So I would say that yes, they have not really participated as compared to the other banks. So yes,
Yeah.
the view is positive for Bank of India, Canara Bank, Indian Bank. They all are. We are having a positive view for these stocks.
Okay, got that. So that's the view that we have on the PSU banks. Vineet, can I ask you also on specific stocks that you would still be positive on the PSU banking story in this upward run? Are you again participating?
I think you should be focusing on Canara Bank. The reason being that Canara Bank has a couple of IPOs planned, where they are looking to divest their positions in the AMC business, and also on an opportunistic basis the housing finance business. So if the IPO environment stays good, like we've seen it happen with Ather, so Ather would be a testing a test for vibrancy of the IPO market going ahead. If that is positive, then I think this stock can really, really do well. It has a potential to double from here.
Okay. Now, help us understand, on one more aspect, and that is defense. That's also going to be very important to understand today, Vineet. I'll start off with you because we have to thank you, and then we have to let you go. India and France are likely to sign a 63,000 crore rupees plus deal for buying 26 Rafale marine aircrafts today. That could happen today. That's something that the defense space is going to be really watching out for. We are going to be seeing the Indian Defense Secretary and French Ambassador in that program where the announcements could come in. Defense, of course, has actually also pulled up from its lowest part that we have seen over the last 5 months, and many of the stocks are actually on a recovery trend. How are you looking at this news? Where do you think the benefits will come in? What are your top favorites?
So I think purely keeping the perspective of the war behind us, I think post this the kinetic action and beyond that, I think defense is only going to do extremely well. Order books are good and exports are picking up. The world is short on it's 10 years behind its inventory levels. So I think this entire pack of stocks is going to be performing remarkably well. BL has held out very well in the entire run, and BEL would be one of our go-to picks among the PSU baskets. And the other one to look at is BHEL. And if you are to looking at the private sector space, data patterns, and Zen is another stock that we like. We believe that these stocks can do really well from the coming in the coming days.
Okay, got that. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Vinny, thank you so much for being with us on the show today and helping us on all the talking points that we've discussed and the opportunities both in secondary and the IPO space as well. Appreciate your time with us. Good to speak to you. Thank you so much. And we'll continue our discussion now with Vaishali. Vaishali, first 15 minutes of candle out. Any trend that is getting formed?
So, well, as I said, Nifty is holding on very well. Let's start with Nifty. So, Nifty is doing very well. And now that you were talking about so stock specific, I would say look at banking stocks. As I mentioned, Bank of India is looking very good. And in defense sector, I would like to draw your attention even to HAL. So that is showing strength. Besides that, chemical stocks like pipe stocks, that is Supreme Industries, SRF is the chemical stock. So those are showing strength. I guess those would do well.
Okay, fair point. I hope this has also helped all of you really understand the kind of trends that are shaping up on the markets now. Let's actually get down to understanding some of the key stocks there that are in focus. We have discussed a lot of stocks on the Frontline, but we'll again mark them. Reliance is the top mover right now, viewers, 2.4% higher. BEL is also pulling up in trade, 1.3% up. M&M, Dr. Reddy's, ICICI Bank and Tata Steel. These are the top movers on the Nifty. We have, however, seen Shriram Finance now down 8%. HCL Tech Mahindra, TCS, Maruti, and Hero MotoCorp as among those downward moving stocks on the Nifty at this point. Let's look at the Nifty next 50 names as well. Anything here that we could look at? Almost similar names that would be up and about. But let's actually look at the mid and the small caps, where Vaishali said that not too much of an action is being seen. We'll pull up those stocks too. Within the mid caps and small caps to see how the trend is shaping up there. Vaishali, mid and small caps, anything that stands out?
So I'm once again looking at the rail stocks. I mean, if you look at Aircon, that's showing some strength. That is looking positive to me. Then Hoodco, that is showing strength.
Yes.
So these are the stocks where there is clarity in the trend. So I would focus on that.
Okay, railways and Hoodco within the PSUs that could be in focus. Let me also bring in oil and gas for you. How about IGL that came in with the earnings, and we are seeing a strong 3% move on this one. What's happening there? Would you buy this move?
Well, the stock, I can take it as a trading range of 170 to 190, 193. So we're talking about IGL, right? So yes, that would be the range that I would be looking at. And above 190, I would look at higher levels.
Okay, fair point. It's the Nifty Bank that is actually taking the mantle again, 55,100 again on the Nifty Bank. And you're seeing across the board large caps like ICICI Bank and HDFC again pulling up. Within the PSUs, you have even SBI now up by about 1%. So again, the attention is getting drawn to the Bank Nifty contributors there. Vaishali, between the large caps, if I have to ask you, between ICICI and HDFC, how would you really move between both of them now?
So I think ICICI was comfortably showing strength in spite of all the choppiness that we witnessed last week. So I think ICICI is showing strength, but so is the case with even Kotak and HDFC. So I guess it's a basket. I rather focus on Bank Nifty.
Okay, fair point. I hope this has also helped all of us really get into sense as to how do you move forward with the large cap banking names at this point in time. But let's also focus on some of the other aspects. We've discussed defense, rail, large PSUs as well. But let's also discuss one more names within the chemicals and fertilizers basket. I think, Vaishali, this is something that we need to now focus on in the run up to the monsoon rainfall as well. The first indications have been that we may see above normal rainfall yet again. So I want to understand fertilizers, chemicals, specialty chemicals. Are you looking at all of these basket yet again for a medium term play maybe?
Yes, of course. So fertilizer and chemicals, fact, what we talk about, those are the stocks that we have been recommending since quite some time. So also is the case with the fertilizers, RCF. So yes, we have a positive view towards this.
We have a positive view towards this, and we can definitely keep an eye out on that as well. What about the pharma stocks, Vaishali? We haven't discussed that today, but some of them are moving up. Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, that's in focus today. Within the pharma pack, I think last week when we were discussing, it was Divis Laboratories that you had marked, and that also had shot up in trade. Would you still concentrate on the diagnostics, or are you changing your stance now to maybe frontline OEMs?
So I would say, well, stocks which have not moved, actually Lupin, Cipla, they all look good at these levels. Divis has already got into a trend, so also is the case. Dr. Reddy is nicely placed, and Sun Pharma has been the leader always. So, well, right now I would look at a buying opportunity in Lupin and Cipla.
Okay, got that. I hope that as well you have got into trend. Now, let's understand what more we can probably find out. Okay, let's actually look at some of the interesting names within. Maybe The one more space that we haven't discussed today, and that is the real estate space. Again, this is something that Vaishali has discussed often with us on the program. She has always looked at Godrej properties as one of the spaces that she's been looking at. Would you still bet big on that one, or is there any other name that's getting added? Some positive recovery has been taking shape on real estate since last 1 week, 10 days odd.
So yes, Godrej has always been my stock, which I would focus on as a top list. Besides that, of course, I would look at DLF, Oberoi, Lodha. I would look for a buying opportunity. So even let's talk about DLF. I think it's in the process of making higher bottom. So if 640 levels are held on, I think I would observe a range of 640 to 680, 690. Clarity of an uptrend would continue only above 697. So for now,
Okay.
it's a trading range. Yeah.
For now, it's a trading range. Fair point. We'll definitely keep that in focus then. Another thing that I wanted to discuss with you is how we are also looking at the metal space as well. What's happening here? Anything that stands out for you? Some moves, we've been seeing on Hindalco, Tata Steel, JSW Steel, they've been again coming back. What about those?
So yes, I would definitely agree because they are showing a lot of strength. Hindalco continues to show strength. So is the case with even JSW Steel and Jindal Steel and Power. So in fact, even NMDC, if you have a look, Hindustan Copper, they're all very well placed. So it's a matter of patience. If you were to hold it with a positional viewpoint, I'm sure one is to gain.
Fair point. Okay, we'll definitely keep an eye out on that as well. Another thing, Vaishali, that we haven't discussed among the large caps is the IT pack today. Last 1 week, 10 days, we've been seeing how the IT space has been recovering in trend and has been providing the support to the markets. Today there is a tad decline, about 0.7% order. So it's the banks that are now taking, the baton in their hands. But what exactly should one's approach be on the IT space? Because large IT players have already reported their numbers, be it the big four or some of the even mid-cap IT names. Of course, in line largely, but not too much of an enthusiasm. There is also an uncertainty factor on how will US economy really take shape going forward from here. So not too much of a clarity in the guidance that has been shared by the managements as well. Some of the big players are also going slow on hirings or on wage hikes at this point in time. How would you look at technically the IT numbers are played?
Well, so we did see a run up because, anyways, with the tariff impact, also these stocks were beaten up, and now with the
Yes,
result.
yes.
But I think if one were to look at Persistent, Coforge, these stocks are doing pretty well. They've given a good bounce, but IT sector today, as Bank Nifty is showing strength, IT is taking a breather. But in my opinion, Persistent, Coforge, in fact, even KPIT technology, they technically very well corrected, and I think it has a favorable risk reward ratio. So I would definitely look at it with a trading point of view.
Okay, fair point. I hope we will definitely look at that, how it plays, because 0.7% of a decline on the IT, but the banks are higher. Look at the strong move that's coming in. Now 55,230 on the Nifty Bank. There's a near 600 point of a jump on the Nifty Bank, 1% higher. That's clearly leading the markets now higher in trade. And we are also looking at even the Nifty jump up beyond, 24,200 odd levels as well. Of course, Vaishali, one more aspect is that it's a truncated week yet again. So we are going to be seeing a holiday again on Thursday on account of Labor Day. Remember, in the previous 2 weeks which were truncated, we had actually gone up pretty sharply despite the truncated action. Then there was 1 week of a little volatile move, and now again we are back at a truncated action. What's your suggestion? Should be the strategy then?
I think actually, Sakshi, we really have to get used to with the volatility that I think it's a challenging time because each day is a different day and a different story to talk about. So,
Yeah.
well, we will purely respect the levels. There is no worry as long as 23,800 levels are held on. So, good quality stocks, maybe you do not, you may go wrong with your trading strategies because stop losses can be hit. But in my opinion, I would look at it that these dips are an opportunity for a long term perspective. So I guess ones which have good fundamental story and which are at good levels, those are the stocks that one should consider.
Okay. And towards the end now, Vishali, help us understand if one has to really eke out some names from you for the day today, which ones would you really bet on?
Well, so Sakshi, we just spoke about overall reality. That's what is getting into trend. We spoke
Okay.
about HAL. HAL, I think I'm quite
Yes.
sure about the trend, the way it's moving. I think 4,000 is the support. And once we see it's trying to come out of its consolidation range. So I'm talking about HAL. So if it goes above 44, 50 or 4,500 levels, I think as a positional trade, this can go towards 5,000 and higher. So I would go for stocks which are not really going to be governed by the external scenario. So HAL would be one of the stocks. I would once again look at power stocks. So yes,
Okay.
that would be the sector that I would be comfortable with.
Okay, so Oberoi Realty, HAL, and even the power related stocks that could be definitely in focus in trade today. That's something that Vaishali is going to be looking at. Okay, Vaishali, thank you so much then for being with us on the morning edition and helping us with all your views there on the markets.
Pleasure.
We'll start wrapping up the morning trade and hope that this trend that has actually built up in the first half an hour odd, we can actually see that build on going forward as well. Although you see that slight dip, but as Vaishali pointed out, we might have to just get used to of the volatility. Things are very, very malleable at this point in time, and we have to definitely keep an eye out on that. But I think clearly Reliance Industries is the one that's doing all the heavy lifting. 1337 for Reliance Industries right now. That's the one that's really helping the markets really pull up in trade. In fact, if we pull up the index contributors, you'll clearly see that 57 points are getting contributed on the Nifty from Reliance Industries. Then there are those banking twins that we discussed with Vaishali, ICICI Bank and HDFC. Both are contributing about 28 and 23 points respectively to the Nifty. You have M&M that's contributing 10 odd points. You have L&T, SBI, all of these spaces that are also contributing to the gain, and Kotak Mahindra Bank also. That's now up by about 6.5 points contribution coming in from that as well. So that's how the move is. But on the downside, Shriram Finance, that's a big disappointment that continues after the earnings. Vineet also pointed out, let all things play out and then again look afresh, because Shriram Finance has been traditionally a great stock to really look at, one of the best balance sheets there. And but right now, I think the concerns on the earnings are, overweighing the sentiments. HCL Tech, Infosys, TCS, Tech Mahindra, four of the top five losers from the Nifty are contributing on the downside. Then you also have Maruti that's slipping a bit, Bajaj Finance, even the FMCG names, HUL and Nestle, as some of those laggards in trade at this point in time. Now we are going to be also looking at how some of the oil and gas names will be moving up. Remember the crude oil prices and how OPEC meeting really takes shape will be important to watch as to what happens on the oil and gas story as well. So that's something that we will watch out for. At least all the OMCs are actually opening up, and they have been trading up in the first half an hour of trade. But let's see how things take shape on the oil and gas story as well. IGL, meanwhile, is up by about 2.5%. 182 levels can be seen on the earnings front for this one too. All right, viewers, we'll try and wrap up the morning trade at that. Seems pretty good on the Nifty Bank. Most of the sectors contributing on a higher trend, but we'll see whether there is some kind of a volatility that comes in, or the markets are able to recover those 2 days of losses that we saw in the last week, Thursday and Friday, and we are actually going to again see some kind of a recovery trend. But all of that will also be important to watch, because there is this geopolitical overhang that we're looking at globally. Also, FOMC meeting in the week to follow, and of course how actions take place on the tariff front. All of that will be very, very important to watch out for. So we'll keep you posted with every action that you need to know. Up next, we'll be looking at some earnings conversations, and of course, throughout the course of the day, we will also get you a conversation with M&M, Mahindra and Mahindra, which is now acquiring SML Isuzu, to find out what is behind the strategic move there. Stay tuned with us. A lot more action coming up on your screens throughout the course of the day today.